Namaste, welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity Yoga, and we're going to continue asking or answering questions from the jar. I forgot to get my thing going here. Okay. I try to answer a question in 10 minutes, and it's off the cuff. It's no editing, no revising. This is what you get, sort of thing. So they're far from perfect, but I'm hoping to answer them very authentically. I do this mostly for myself so that I can assimilate the knowledge that I'm learning. And as an educator in the adult learning environment for many years, I've always found that teaching helps with the learning and learning helps with the teaching. So it's a process that I do. I'm also hoping that it does have some benefit for you in the long run. If you're traveling along this path like I am, you may find something from my experiences that may benefit you. So I'm going to begin by reaching in and grabbing a question. I'm hoping this is something I can read. I'm going to start my timer. Is she going? Yes, it's going. I'm going to read the question. What does it mean to live in the present moment? What does it mean to live in the present moment? I'm going to take a deep breath. What does it mean to live in the present moment? And I think that's a catchphrase we're very used to hearing these days, right? It's the new age thing. Live in the present moment, live in the present moment, present moment's all there is, etc. But what does it really mean? It is definitely not new age. It is the basic philosophy of most ancient practices, like yoga, for example, but in most spiritual traditions, living in the present moment simply means being here and now with what is, not being distracted by the senses, by what the mind is saying, by the rippling of the mind, by the modifications of the mind, by our judgments and our preferences, our aversions and attractions. It's simply being here. Most of us in these human forms spend the majority of our lives in our heads rather than in the moment, rather than experiencing the reality of what is. We use the moment a lot of times as a stepping stone to get to the next moment rather than appreciating it for what it is. The only time we really have when we look at it is this moment, because the future, where we spend a lot of our what-if thinking looking towards, doesn't really exist, does it? It is just a mental concept, a mental projection into a time that doesn't exist. When the future comes, it's the now again, right? It's this moment. We can say the same for the past. I think I heard someone say, Sadhguru maybe, that the future was like imagination. The past is memory. So when we look at our past, it's just an accumulation of things that already happened. We can't go back there. We can't live there again in any other place other than in our heads, right? So if we're thinking future and thinking past, we're in our heads. We're not in the moment experiencing what the body's experiencing in this moment, experiencing what awareness, who we truly are, which is the backdrop of this existence, is experiencing. We're too busy thinking our way through life and thinking about our feelings, thinking about our thoughts, thinking about our reactions, thinking about our behaviors, thinking about what might happen, might not happen in this world of form that surrounds us. We are not aware a lot of times of what's happening in the moment because we're so busy in our heads. How many times have you gotten into a car and ended up at your destination without remembering anything that happened from the time you start driving to the time you got there? We live in an automatic type of existence when we're in our heads. We're not appreciating the moment that we're driving, for example. We're not feeling our hands on the wheels, our foot on the gas pedal. We're making those motions and we're moving the car and then we're getting there safely. But we're not fully in that moment. We're not aware of our breath. We're not aware of the scenery around us unless it's something that's really dramatic that catches our attention and brings us back into the moment. We tend not to be aware of what is existing around us because we're so busy thinking about future thoughts or past thoughts rather than what's experienced in this moment. This takes us, of course, away from who we truly are when we're not in the moment. A lot of people will say that the moment is presence, right? Presence. It's being present is presence. And we are presence. We are the awareness that is here to experience life and awareness. Yet we are so consumed by our thoughts, we're distracted away from who we are, from that awareness, and we are unaware. We are living automatically, moving through life automatically rather than present for life. When we start realizing that we are living unconsciously and time's passing by and we're so caught up here, we're not experiencing the beauty of this moment, for example, or the pain of this moment, because they go together. It's like the reality of life is that there's pain and there's joy. 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. And they go together in this beautiful tapestry. But if we are resisting any of it by denying it or being so distracted from it, avoiding it, suppressing it, repressing it, we are not experiencing the full moment in all its glory and all its beauty. The only life there is in this moment. Everything else is a mental construct or a mental concept, right? So when we realize that this is the only time there is, this is the only place I can be, is right here, doing what I'm doing right now, being who I am right now, because it's more about being than doing, then I start to realize that I'm missing out on life. I'm starting missing out on the beauty of existence because I'm lost in my head. And when we start realizing that, we can go through the process of becoming more mindful, more aware as awareness, as to what we're experiencing in these forms, in these experiences that we're given. So we start to become more aware of our thoughts. We can start to become more aware, for example, that we're thinking. Oh my goodness, I'm thinking. I had this, instead of just being caught up in the thought and going with the thought, say, for example, oh my God, that person doesn't like me, that person doesn't, oh my gosh, what are they going to say about me and all that. Being so lost in that, we're not even aware that it's the thoughts that, that we're thinking. We're just so caught up in the drama of it all. It's becomes our reality. It's so absorbed in it, we don't see anything else. But once we pull back enough to say, oh my gosh, I was thinking about that. Not only was I thinking about that, because when we start focusing so much on what we're thinking about, we get pulled back into the thinking. But when we start realizing I was thinking again, or when we feel this body sensation of pain, for example, and we get so lost in the pain, it becomes all there is. We forget that we are the awareness observing the pain experience. And when we pull ourselves back and say, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing pain in this moment, we're back. We're living in the moment again. When we have feelings of sadness or anger that are uncomfortable for us, we may do whatever we can to push them out or get to the next moment where those feelings will be gone, instead of just living with the feelings and the only time and experience of life there is right now. We may project around them or push and suppress them down so that we don't have to experience them in this moment. When we do that, we are rejecting the moment. We're not living in the moment. We're once again living in the process, the reactive process of the mind, as it reacts to the moment we're in, instead of accepting, allowing, opening up to what the moment is giving us. Whatever this moment gives us is perfectly okay. It's very little to do with us, yet we make it all about us, and it should be this way, it shouldn't be that way, it's right, wrong, good, bad. Instead of just allowing those judgments to go and just accepting the beauty of the experience we have here as awareness to experience this moment, we often forget to do that, and we live in our heads. But when we learn to pull back and be awareness again, then we're living in the moment. So living in the moment equates to being who we are, because we are presence, we are awareness, and this is what we're given to be aware of, is this moment. Yet we get so distracted by our minds and our bodies that we forget to live in the moment. Living in the moment is self-realization, it's awareness, it's coming back home to who we are. It is detachment from what's not important, like the psyche and all its dramas. It doesn't mean we don't experience the world around us. It's just we live in the world around us right here and right now, rather than up in the future or in the past. And we don't miss any of this precious moment. The only time there is right here, right now. And once we realize that, we embrace this moment with whatever it gives us, whatever it throws at us. It's just, this is the moment. This is life. This is living. This is who I am, sort of thing. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a wonderful day. Namaste.